On February 13, 2024, an emergency notice issued by a local municipality was making bounds on overseas social media platforms. Dated February 11th, it requires the establishment of a daily reporting system for possible social conflicts. It calls for focusing on the investigation of risks and potential hazards that may lead to extreme cases. It names 16 categories of people to be screened. They are individuals who are involved in real estate, have medical problems, face labor disputes, and face marital and neighborhood disputes. People who experience petition and appeal, investment failure, and unemployment. People who are disillusioned with their lives, under emotional distress, or having relationship problems. People who are out of sorts or mentally ill. Teenagers who are delinquent. People who have a violent tendency, who threaten to take revenge on the society, and those who may provoke violent conflicts, etc. If the government were to start identifying these 16 categories of people, the number of people would be too much, and the effort required would be too great. Why is the local government making such a big move? Undoubtedly, it has something to do with the recent mass shooting in this city. And why have the authorities tried to erase all traces of it? February 10th, 2024 was the first day of the Chinese New Year. It was one of the most important days for Chinese society. People pay their respects to each other and entertain their friends and relatives as is the custom. On such a festive day, a tragedy happened, killing and injuring people and leaving the area under full martial law. In mainland China, the identity of the killers and the number of deaths were much discussed on the web. Several versions of the story appeared. The news is completely blocked now, and it's difficult to find relevant information in mainland China. Based on the information found in overseas media, we have constructed a rough picture of what might have happened. On Chinese New Year's Eve, that is, the night of February 9th, 2024, the perpetrators killed 11 people from 5 families. 5 families vanished. No one knows which was the first family to be victimized. By the time the morning came, the murderer came back and killed 10 more people. As of press time, a total of 21 people are known to have been killed, and 3 more are in serious condition. The guns used by the killer were hunting rifles or privately modified guns. Regarding the identity of the perpetrator, it's said to be either a retired or dismissed armed police officer. Some say that he is just an ordinary migrant worker. The perpetrators chose to strike on the night of New Year's Eve and in the early hours of the first day of the Lunar New Year, when the whole village was letting off firecrackers. As such, the villagers couldn't hear the gunshots as it was interspersed with the sound of the firecrackers. There were at least 3 or 4 or 5 perpetrators, and 2 are still at large. The tipster said the police wouldn't allow the news or the public to know. Some videos show that there was an armed police presence on site. The gates of the village are seen to have been blocked by the police, and the roads blocked by black vehicles. Only people visiting relatives could enter the village. The village is also said to have been cordoned off. From the time of the crime to the press time, the local officials haven't issued any notice concerning the shooting. The government has been covering it up and preventing news from spreading. For example, China's Phoenix website published 2 reports on February 11th and 12th, but they were quickly removed. According to the reports, local officials claimed that more than 10 people had been killed, one of the suspects had been taken under control, and the local public security authorities said that the matter was classified. The CCP has already blocked the news in the media and on social media, with a 404 message appearing when the news is clicked on. Currently, on China's social media Weibo, everyone is using coded language to refer to this matter. Many have even said that the web has been cleaned up so well that it makes the incident seem even more real. One netizen said mentioning the case on Weibo had led to his account being frozen for 7 days. One post on Weibo stated that the police called him and told him that one of his posts mentioned the county. That is, the place where the shooting took place. It was fine in Weibo itself, but there was some information in the comments section that shouldn't have been there. The police asked him to delete the post. The person said he felt terrified afterward. There are various rumors about the cause of this tragedy. One of the speculations is that the murderer couldn't collect owed wages. His family was in bad shape. He had a car accident with his wife and became disabled. His wife left him and the man could only do a little work in the village. His boss wouldn't pay, and the boss's family had a member working for the government who sent the man to prison for 2 or 3 years. The man was released this year and he retaliated against his boss's family. Another theory is that a man devastated by the sudden departure of his date tried to get help from village officials to secure a guaranteed minimum income status, but the officials refused and called the police to report him for trespassing. The man was detained by police. After being released from detention, the man retaliated with 3 other persons. Logically speaking, if there are still 2 people at large, the police should have released the photos so that people can provide clues and assist in catching the perpetrators. However, the police and various sectors of the government are keeping a tight lid on the news. Perhaps they don't think it's appropriate for the case to be widely known to the Chinese people to avoid imitation. Let's go back to the document at the beginning of the show. The 16 categories of people to be screened include people who were involved in various disputes or petitions, people who are emotionally stressed, disturbed, disillusioned, or hopeless towards life, etc. It can be said that there are too many people in these 16 categories in various cities in China. As far as labor disputes are concerned, the most prominent one is wage collection. In other words, workers who have done their work but are not paid. They have to resort to various ways to collect their pay during the Chinese New Year. Here is one part in the eastern province on February 11, 2024. Dozens of migrant workers came to the China Construction Bureau to collect their wages. They didn't get anywhere. Instead, they were locked up by the local police. They had nothing to eat for the whole day.
总监把局的跟总监的人干的，总监有后台。
昨天给的这个警车，带我们呢，再给我们带进去，给我们带进去吧。
Wage arrears are an old problem in China, and many of them are even caused by local governments defaulting on payments, which have led to contracting companies owing payments to other partners. Workers holding up banners and blocking entrances to collect wages is the most common way. This was on February 7, 2024, in a provincial capital in northwest China. A project owed wages to workers. As the Chinese New Year was approaching, the anxious workers cried and knelt to their boss. In some places, migrant workers climbed high towers to collect their wages. The conflict between homeowners and developers is virtually everywhere in China today. Poor building quality has led to many complaints from homeowners. Here, people who have purchased the homes gathered in the sales department to defend their rights. In addition to the downturn in the real estate industry affecting workers' paychecks, the deterioration of local government finances has also made the problem of unpaid wages at public hospitals and for bus drivers more serious. Many people still rely on petitioning the government. We have observed that after many tragic cases in mainland China, the authorities' usual tactic is to suppress them if they can, and if they can't, they will trivialize them or fool the people. Therefore, when dealing with the mass shooting in Shandong, the CCP followed the same routine. In fact, when it tried to blockade the case at the easiest time, it shows it might have more to fear. There was a lot of uncertainty in this case, but what is certain is that there are only 2 motives for the attack: personal revenge and social vengeance, or both. Judging from the identities and motives of the perpetrators, no matter whether they were seeking wage collection, being framed, or having been bullied, the offenders must have accumulated great grievances. Unable to find any other way to resolve them, they have chosen to take matters into their own hands and risk their lives. They didn't see any other way to resolve their grievances and had no hope for life. In addition, the murderers prepared in advance in terms of the equipment used and time of the murder. It shows that there is still a sober side to them. Thus, the greatest fear behind the CCP's blockade of the mass killing on New Year's Day is the fear that more people, including disgruntled veterans, might follow suit, especially in the face of the real estate and stock market crash, the severe economic downturn, rising unemployment, and falling incomes of the general public. All these, in turn, have the potential to lead to even greater social instability. In fact, under the CCP rule, especially since former party leader Jiang Zemin's rule by corruption has become rampant in government departments and the military. Moreover, the number of criminal cases across China has been rising by 17 to 22% annually. The rate of serious criminal cases has remained high, with mafia running wild and cases of injustice everywhere. From violent killings of government officials and police officers to the killing of innocent people, vicious incidents are not uncommon in mainland China, and this trend has no sign of stopping. Compared to previous years, more and more middle-class people are also getting caught in the turmoil and have become a potential danger in the eyes of the CCP. For example, the current wave of stock market crashes in China has left countless ordinary stock investors, many of whom are middle-class Chinese, with no money at all. Here is a self-media blogger certified as a legal person of Shanghai Tianmei Network Technology Company Limited. He introduced himself as a graduate of a University of Finance and Economics. In 2010, he joined Huawei and worked as a software engineer for 4.5 years. He once made a monthly salary of 30,000 yuan or 4,200 USD. Over the past 10 years, he lost more than 5 million yuan or about $700,000 in stock speculation. He has no home nor car, unmarried with debt of about 500,000. In January 2024, he was forcefully enforced by the court. In the video, he recounted how he had been harvested by the stock market many times. Especially in a wave of stock market crashes in 2021, he lost 225,000 in 4 months. He was in Shanghai at the time. He planned to retaliate at the Shanghai Stock Exchange and then jump off the building. But at that time, in March 2022, Shanghai was under epidemic lockdown. He couldn't get out of his neighborhood and didn't act out his plan. On February 5, 2024, he posted a video in which he knelt and cried bitterly, slapping his own face and shouting at the top of his lungs that the Chinese stock market was like a legalized gambling joint. His ex-colleague also speculated in the stock market and lost 3 years' salary in 6 days. How can people live in this kind of society? He posted videos on February 10th and 11th to record clips of him working in a theater on New Year's Eve and the first day of the Chinese New Year. He had a part-time job at a theater, making $50 a day. He stood so long that his legs got completely numb. This blogger is just one of the millions of ordinary stock investors on the mainland. According to China Securities Depository and Clearing Corporation, the number of stock investors in China surpassed 150 million in March 2019. And by February 25, 2022, the number surpassed the mark of 200 million Chinese. Since the beginning of 2024, China's stock market has been tumbling, with a recent epic collapse. Coupled with the downturn of China's economy in 2023, the number of unemployed has increased dramatically, and many stockholders are facing the predicament of losing all their money. This is the live broadcast of the Securities Service in a northwestern province on February 5, 2024. On the screen, stock investors collectively wish the Securities and Futures Commission all the worst for their families. In China, there are still frequent fires and explosions. In many of these so-called small incidents, no one knows what kind of stories they have. This is February 11th, 2024, at a scenic spot in an eastern province. A fire broke out by the entrance. Several cars parked at the gate were burned down. The video shows the fierce fire scene with smoke rolling. Bursting fire can be heard from time to time. Eyewitnesses said the incident occurred at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. A total of 6 vehicles were burned to the ground with only empty shells left. During the 70 years of the CCP regime, it has pushed for atheism and philosophy of struggle. Its party culture has led to more and more hostility in Chinese society. Many once kind and easygoing Chinese have been driven to the brink of despair, and some of them have chosen to fight violence with violence and evil with evil, to the extent of taking revenge on society. In ancient China, there is a saying, "If the people don't fear death, what's the use to threaten them with death?" The people who don't fear death should be feared by those in power the most. Nowadays, grievances are spreading all over China, and even the CCP officials themselves realize that the possibility of preventing the next bloodshed is very slim. And each spark, when gathered, could start a massive fire to bring down the CCP.